Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Yes, happy Tuesday afternoon here in the Midwest Annex of the Dice Tower. It is a blistery and chilly day here today, but still happy to be here with all of you. And today we are going to be talking about the best-selling games of March 2025. And this is being compiled from data from our sponsor, Board Game Bliss. And so if these titles are interesting to you and you want to try to get yourself a copy of them, I would make my first stop Board Game Bliss. This is where we're getting the information from. Gonna make a quick check. Looks like everything is loud and clear with everyone watching, and so that is fantastic. All right, so normally Tom does these best-selling games streams, and sometimes he'll have some guests that kind of hop along with, like I believe Z was in the last one. But today it's just going to be me, and everyone else, as you likely know, is hard at work in the active process of moving studios, Dice Tower Studios, from Homestead to Fort Myers, and so they are very busy with that. All right, so we're going to be talking about the top 10 best-selling games from March, according to Board Game Bliss. But let's talk quickly about 5 that didn't quite make the cut. So we had Rebirth was just outside of the top 10. That is a newer design from Reiner Knizia from Mighty Boards Publishing. Big fan of that game, and so I'm glad to see that people are checking that one out. Northwest, which is a game, it looks like a card game. I don't know a whole lot about that one, but I may have to do a little bit more research now, seeing that it is, up there for sales. Inferno, that's another one that I don't know a whole lot about. Fellowship of the Ring, the trick-taking game, just outside of the top 10. Still very hot right now. I've certainly played that quite a bit, and it looks like a lot of people are enjoying that quite a bit. Even people that don't necessarily love trick-taking games seem to be interested in that one because maybe the IP. That's at least what would make the most sense to me. And then just outside of the top 10 was Awkward Guests 2, which I feel like that's a big kind of hole in my gaming experience. I have not played either the first nor the second Awkward Guest. I know Tom is a huge fan of the first Awkward Guest. I'm not sure what he thinks of the second one. He likely has reviewed it, but anyway, let's get right down to the top 10. All right, coming in at number 10, we have got Finspan. All right, well, yes, the newest in the Span line of games, which have already created a number of different memes out there of all the different types of Span games. However, all of that silliness aside, Finspan is a game that is obviously doing very well. It seems to be kind of carving out its own niche, and I would say that about just about all of them. I mean, obviously Wingspan is the OG, and I doubt that's ever going to be eclipsed by other Span games. But Wormspan seems to be, it definitely has its fans and stands apart. And I think Finspan is going to do the same, in my opinion. I feel like this is the lightest and the easiest to teach. Other people may disagree, but in my opinion, Finspan is the lightest, the easiest to teach, and the quickest to play of all of the Span games. And so we'll see. Time will tell how well Finspan is going to do in the kind of the hierarchy of the Span games. And I would not be surprised if there are more games that are going to kind of be like a Wingspan game or something along those lines. I think it's already been even announced that they're working on an expansion for Finspan. They've already announced a Wormspan expansion coming out. So, look, I think that this is something that is a part of the hobby. This series of games has a very large presence within the hobby, and I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon. All right, so that was number 10. Finspan. All right, at number 9 is a game that I have heard and seen a whole lot about. This is Moon Colony Bloodbath. So this is coming from Rio Grande Games, and it's by designer Donald X. Vaccarino. And that, I think, is what is getting the most attention, or at least got the initial attention for this game. Donald X. Vaccarino does not put out a whole lot of games, but they have Donald has some huge games on his CV, and I think you can start with Dominion, and perhaps if had never designed another game, that still would have been enough to kind of keep Donald in the pantheon of board game designers. But this is getting some really good buzz. Moon Colony Bloodbath is. I can tell you that it was at Dice Tower West at the Hot Games table, and it was always consistently packed. I remember being at a friendly local game store kind of before, when it first came out. I saw it sitting on the shelf. I picked it up and I took a look at it. And, at that point, that's all it was. I took a look at it. And then I believe it sold, and it's selling. It's selling very, very well. I almost wonder how close they are to kind of maybe running through even the initial print run of this. This seems like a game that is, like I said, getting good buzz, getting good attention, seems to be getting good reviews. I do believe that Tom liked it. I'm almost sure Tom liked it. I just don't know if he's reviewed it yet, so I don't want to say too much. I bet he's reviewed it. Probably reviewed it, right? You know what? I edit his videos. I don't think he's reviewed it yet, so I don't want to say too much of what Tom thinks, because I'm getting that based off of some first impressions. So who knows? Perhaps he's played it more and his opinions have evolved, changed, grown. I don't know. I need to play it. That's the bottom line. I am looking forward to playing this one. It did look good. It also looks like a straight up throwback to early to mid 2000s Rio Grande games, complete with the Franz Vollwinkle art. So yeah, it feels like a classic kind of old school, but still modern in design. We'll see. Already number 9 bestseller at Board Game Bliss, so it has not been out long. That's pretty telling. All right, let's go to number 8, a game that is still, of course, new, but been out a bit longer, and that is SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. This is coming from CGE, Czech Games Edition, and super hot designer Tomáš Holek, if I'm pronouncing that correct. I hope I am. But boy, let me tell you about a splash. I remember a number of years ago when Wolfgang Warsch came out with just these huge hits, one after another, Quacks, and there were like 3 or 4 games right in a row that got huge buzz. And I believe the same thing happened with Tomas here with SETI and Galileo Galilei and Tea Garden, and there are more that have been announced. I believe, as a matter of fact, I just saw that the Big Delicious Games release, or at least one of them, which is the company owned by Vladimir Suchy, is a Tomáš Holek game, and Aquarium. And it looks really cool. I like the cover for that a lot. We talked about it a bit in the news, but we're getting more and more information. And yeah, it looks like that's going to be released at Essen, or at least that's the most recent thing. But SETI is the game we're talking about here. I have played SETI. I need to play it some more, but it is a very clever Euro game. And kind of the big hook here is that you're going to have 2 aliens that you're going to encounter during kind of I would say the second half of the game at least. And they're going to change up some type of rule. They're going to add some kind of a new mechanism, things along those lines. So this game is getting a tremendous amount of positive buzz. It's got an 8.4 on BGG, and it's not been out long. It is already in the top 100 games of BGG at 80, 47 in strategy, the top 50 strategy games of all time. And this game has barely come out. Well, we'll see how these numbers kind of settle. This happens a lot where you've got these kind of huge spikes, and you see it in the numbers, but that's pretty remarkable no matter how you look at it. So SETI still obviously continuing. Oh, I should be having this up there. This is number 7. Sorry, I didn't put my little graphic up there. This is number 8. This is why I got to do things in a very specific order, folks. 10, 9, 8. Yes. Number 8 bestseller for March is SETI. All right, so let's go into number 7. And I cannot tell you how happy I am to see the number 7 best-selling game for March in according to Board Game Bliss, and that is Come Sail Away. Wow. Wow. All right. So Come Sail Away is a delightful game from Japanese publisher Sashi and Sashi. And I'm a very big fan of many of their games, but Come Sail Away is just tremendous. I absolutely adore this game, and it's a bit of a larger game than many of their games are. Usually their games are card games or small box games. This is still probably the size of about an Aaliyah box, if you know what I'm referring to with that. But just a tremendous co-design between Sashi and Daryl Chow, who I believe is a Singaporean designer, and I have my apologies if that's not correct. I believe so. Just a really, really good game. And the impression that I get, the reason why this is maybe as high as it is that it's not, doesn't have wide scale Western release. Okay, and so Board Game Bliss obviously was able to get a number of copies there, and people are buying them there because it's slightly easier than perhaps buying them directly through the website, which you can do, which is a Japanese site. So you're going to be paying, a bit extra for shipping and things along those lines. So, but man, what a terrific game. Very, very simple rule set, but with some great depth of strategy, really fun decisions, plays in a really good amount of time where, it says 25 minutes on the box. I think that's selling it a little bit short. I think at 4 players, it's going to be closer to 35 to 40 minutes. Certainly in a 2-player game, you're going to get it done in that, because I believe it's 12 rounds that you're playing, and those can go relatively quickly. But man, I can't speak highly enough about this game. I've already talked a whole lot about it, so don't need to belabor that point. But the number 7, there's a message here saying it's now going to be available in the U.S. official release on Friday. Well, if that's the case, that's fantastic. But looks like Board Game Bliss has it now because they're selling a bunch of it. So there you go. That is number 7, Come Sail Away. So number 8, we're going to a much larger scale production there, and that is the Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era. This is coming from Chip Theory Games. 10, 9, 8, 7. This is number 6. Right? Yep. So this is obviously based on a huge IP. Elder Scrolls from Bethesda, the video game, and they're partnering up with Chip Theory Games to kind of take I almost said the bones of Too Many Bones. That would have been a terrible pun, but I'm going to take it back. Taking kind of like the general framework of Too Many Bones and iterating on it. So I don't want people to get the impression that the Elder Scrolls is basically throwing a reskin on Too Many Bones. It's not that. But there are a lot of things that are familiar with the core dice mechanism and the way that the baddies, as they're called in Too Many Bones, versus the enemies, monsters and such that you have here in the Elder Scrolls. There are definitely some shared DNA there. However, this is a game that is much wider in scope, as you might expect for a game based on this IP. Somebody in the chat was saying that they're surprised that this is the number 6 bestseller, since it's a pricey game, and that is true. That is very true. But I think that speaks to a couple of things. It speaks to the pedigree both of the intellectual property of the Elder Scrolls, and it speaks to the pedigree of the publisher, Chip Theory Games, who generally speaking have been a lifestyle game publisher, meaning that their games are not cheap. Typically, they do have they are branching into those more accessible, a bit less expensive games, but their core, their bread and their butter are these big lifestyle games like Too Many Bones and Cloud Spire and things along those lines. And this fits more into that family of their games. I have played it multiple times. As a matter of fact, there are a couple of live streams of me and others playing the Elder Scrolls on the channel. So if you are interested in this, you want to check it out, honestly, just a couple of weeks ago at the Spring Spectacular, was it 2 weeks ago or one? Whatever. Recently at the Spring Spectacular, myself and Cliff from the World Series of Board Games played through kind of the little tutorial, but that was mostly to show off these kind of blingy new deluxe components. There's also an earlier solo playthrough that I did on the channel that you can check out as well. So number 6 best-selling game in March, Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era. That's impressive. Look, it's already 63 in thematic games on Board Game Geek and carrying a very lofty 9.1 rating. I have to imagine the curve is going to flatten on that a little bit as time goes on. Not saying it's not a great game, but just that's a very lofty score to maintain. Especially, people that are very invested both emotionally and financially, maybe they're going to have a little incentive to boost that rating up high. Just something that you tend to see. All right, let's go to number 5. At number 5, we've got Everdell Duo. Everdell Duo. Now, this is one that I have not played. Okay, I have not played Everdell Duo. I have played Everdell, many of the expansions, probably not all of the expansions. I think there's at least one that I have not played. But I've played a bunch of Everdell, I'll just put it to you that way. Everdell Duo is kind of a reflection of what we're seeing, a very big trend in board games right now, which is basically taking a game that was originally a multiplayer game and making it specifically designed for a 2-player experience. That's not new, right? That has been happening throughout time. I mean, in board gaming, but it's really a hot thing right now. Many popular games are getting duo or dual versions, and we'll see how long this trend lasts. I mean, there's a strong, obviously a strong desire for 2-player specific games out there. A lot of people, may play with their partner as their primary gaming group or partner, or a friend, and maybe don't have access to a large gaming group, and so and have found that the 2-player version of multiplayer games was less than satisfying, because unfortunately sometimes that happens, right? You really like this game at 4 players, but they've got this variant for 2 players where you have to add maybe a bot, or it really completely changes the feeling of the game with 2-player. And so I understand that for people that have been dissatisfied with 2-player versions of multiplayer games, that this is an exciting trend for them. I'm kind of in the middle of the road here. I'm ambivalent. I think there have been some tremendous dual/duo versions of games, and I think there are others where I was like, well, honestly, I think the 2-player version of the game was just fine. I don't really know why we needed this. So I don't know where Everdell Duo falls within that, because I have not played that again. All right. Somebody asking if I'm doing crowd surfing tomorrow or Florida team. That's going to be the Florida team. I will not be doing crowd surfing tomorrow, but I will certainly have my pick of the week. All right. That is number 5. Number 4, another heavy hitter that was, I believe, an Essen release, kind of, at least in Europe. It is a Kickstarter, and that is Unconscious Mind. And yeah, boy, this game keeps on ticking, right? And this is a big, big, heavy Euro game. And I think it's great. I think it's great seeing it this high. I like the design a whole lot. I think it's a very, very good strategy game. It's not had universal acclaim. I have seen some people state that there are some aspects of it they don't like, or some people that don't like it at all, but that's always going to be the case. But I do think that this has had more positive reception than negative for sure. And obviously it's selling quite well too, still, as it's the number 4 seller from Board Game Bliss for March. This is going to be the retail edition of the game. I'm almost sure of that. But you're not really missing anything game-wise, really. And I think that's pretty crucial, is that sometimes games that are Kickstarters, especially big, lavish productions, will sometimes have a lot of exclusive gameplay items that you don't get in the retail edition. And I don't believe that's the case here. So people, I think, are playing this. They're enjoying it, especially the heavy strategy gamers seem to be enjoying it. I certainly enjoy it, and still selling well. And, it doesn't hurt to have 2 of the best artists in the game that are kind of doing this dual artwork, where you've got Vincent Dutray, who is doing the more grounded, realistic elements of the game, because this is themed around the psychology of Freud and the psychotherapy. And so you've got the dreamy elements that are done by Andrew Bosley, and the more grounded kind of things done by Vincent Dutray. And that's a very unique approach to the art. There is a lot of art in the game, so I think that is not just window dressing. It really kind of carries through. And a solid design team as well. Johnny Pack, one of the designers of this. And he's definitely done some bangers in this person's opinion. Number 3 is super interesting to me. I think this is gonna be here for similar reasons that Come Sail Away was. But this is really interesting to me because I only played the number 3 game this last weekend. I had gone to a game day this weekend, and somebody introduced this game to me. This is a Japanese game from Hobby Japan. This is called Gibberers. Gibberers, yes, from Hobby Japan. This is a party game, and it's a fascinating party game, word-based party game. And I'm so glad that I played this, because otherwise I really would not have known what to say about this game. But now I've just played it, and I have some thoughts. And so, number 1, why is this the number 3 most best-selling game for Board Game Bliss? Well, it's because it is a Japanese game that was not easy to get a hold of, and Board Game Bliss also had the English translation pack that came with it. And so this is a game that revolves around language, okay? And so with that being the case, it was not language independent. This was a game where you needed to be able to have translations based upon the language, the speaking language and the writing language, I guess, also, of the people that were playing the game. The general concept behind this is that you are creating your own language together with the people around the table. So this is a cooperative game, and I'm going to probably do terribly in my description of it, but I'm going to give it a shot. Basically, you are making up your own words, just making up words that are going to be used in the place of, in our case, English words. And so you're going to start with a lexicon of, I want to say it was 18 words. And within those 18 words, which are chosen by the people playing, both the kind of the made-up pronunciations and the actual words themselves are both chosen by the players before the game really begins. There are some words that you have to have in there. I think yes and no has to be in there. The other form of no, KNOW, has to be in there. There are some certain words that you do have to make sure are in that starting lexicon. But then beyond that, you're kind of coming up with your own. So I think we had come up with like sun and moon and other words that we thought would be good to have as a starting lexicon, because the other kind of conceit of the game is that you start in kind of ancient times, then you go to more medieval, and then you go to modern times. And it's just a fascinating game where once you have put those words out there, one person is trying to guess, trying to have the rest of the people guess what new word they want to adding to the dictionary or to the lexicon, only by using the pre-existing words. So, if you've got elephant, you've got to use the words that are already out there on the table to describe elephant. You can use gestures in the first round, but as you go on, you can't do it. Fascinating cooperative game. I've probably already spent too long on it, but I just played it, and it's really cool to see it here. That is Gibberers, kind of creating gibberish. Well, you're not. You're creating language from gibberish. All right. Number 2 is an expansion, and this is Faraway, People from Below. This is a really small little expansion. It's just a blister pack of cards that you can add to the game Faraway. So with this being such a popular small box card game, it's not a huge surprise to see its very small, inexpensive expansion be the number 2 seller. I mean, this kind of just makes sense because Faraway has already done so well in the short amount of time it's been out. It's not a huge surprise to me that this is now the number 2 bestseller, because again, this is something that maybe if you're buying another game at Board Game Bliss, maybe you just add this on. It's like, you know what, I love Faraway. This is not that expensive. I'll pop this on there too. Or maybe you're specifically going there for this. Regardless, it's obviously sold a bunch and is selling a bunch, with it being the number 2 on there. And I think Faraway is one of those games. First of all, I think you could add more expansions. I'm not so sure I personally would want a bunch more. I kind of like the purity of the game. I like how fast it is. I'm hesitant to add anything that would necessarily make it longer. Not that this necessarily does. It still keeps it a very short game. But we'll see. I don't know how much more I want to mess with Faraway, but if it's popular, you can rest assured that there will be more to come. But we'll see. We will see. All right, and now let's go finally to the number 1 best-selling game in March of 2025 from Board Game Bliss, and that is Ito. Ito, yes, you know it, you love it. It is Ito, one of the most popular party games of recent memory. This is a game that started as a Japanese game, Arclight Games, and that's why you see the date there is 2019, right? So this game has been out, and there have been multiple versions of this game in Japan as well. Ito Rainbow and things along those lines. So this has been an enormously popular party game in Japan. Huge, okay? And Arcane Wonders and the Dice Tower, through the Dice Tower Essentials line, have localized this for North American audiences. And so Ito now is getting an even larger audience through the North American gamers, right? And so Ito, again, just a remarkably simple but addictive party game. It's one of those types of party games where you don't even have to necessarily be within the group playing it, and you can kind of play along. You can kind of jump in and jump out. It has a lot of the things that you tend to find in popular party games, some of which I just mentioned. It plays super fast. You just keep playing until you don't want to play anymore, is generally how I play it. But and I think most people play it that way. Just a delightful game. Another example of a game that maybe 5 to 10 years ago would never have gotten an audience outside of its country of origin. But now more and more we're seeing games that are becoming localized more globally, and I love seeing that. And so I hope that continues, but boy, talk about a big seller, Edo being the #1 bestseller for Board Game Bliss in March of 2025. Hello again, everybody. It's me on the full screen again. All right, well, there you have it. That is the top best-selling, let's use the nomenclature here, the best-selling games from March of 2025, according to our sponsor, Board Game Bliss. And so we'll be back next month to tell you about the best-selling games of April. Look, we're halfway through April right now. What are going to be the games? What's hot right now? What do you want to buy right now? Well, you can go over to Board Game Bliss and take a look. Maybe you already know what you want. But I'm curious to see. I'm curious to see what is hot for this month when we go over it next month. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. This is Mike Delisio signing off from the Dice Tower Midwest Annex.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.